Thank you for coming, everybody. So first of all, I'd just like to introduce the team. We've got Sam, Josh, Pete, Mike, sorry, and I'm Lloyd. The nerves are already getting to me here. We're the development team for Fable. Fable is fundamentally a book sharing app where you can trade books with users around the globe, and you can track the journey of those books and see them across a map. We like to think of it sort of like IMDb meets Tinder meets your local library. It aims to build a worldwide community, connecting users from around the globe, and encourage recycling and bring back the concept of a lending library. It's built with a Tinder-style interface, so you can swipe books that you're interested in from a global library and arrange swaps with users worldwide. Each book ends up having a unique journey, therefore each book has its own fable. I'd now like to hand you over to Sam. He's going to take you through a demonstration of the app. We would like to have had a video demonstration as a backup, but unfortunately we had QuickTime problems. It wasn't allowing us to render the map properly, so we're going to have to try and do a live demo instead.
Yeah, this could go one of either way, so let's see how. So Lloyd is going to talk us through the app now, so if you can just move the screen over to the other side. Just move the phone screen onto. There you go. Just drag that over. Yeah. Yep. There we go. So this is our app. As you can see, this is a login screen, so Lloyd's going to go through the steps as I talk you through. So you can either log in from here, if you're a new user, you can sign up on that form. But we've already made an account, so we'll just talk you through it now. So if you go back to login, please, Lloyd. Just enter some details. This is not a real account, by the way, so no need to email. There we go. So you can log in now, and what this will do is take you to your bookshelf. So your bookshelf consists of a top row of books that you currently own, and then any books that you're currently reading at the moment as well. And then just below that, we don't have any yet, but an archive list of books as well. So what we'll do from here is let's go onto the user page in the bottom corner. So here you've got your user details, and then any past books as well, they'll show in what's called your Fable. If you click on account details, you're able to edit your location and the information about yourself. In this case, the location is Paris. It'll be important, and I'll let you know why in a little bit later. If we go back to the book profile page, and then the bookshelf, sorry, we also have an option to add books. So if you click on the little green button there for us, so this is quite cool. You can either do this with your camera and take a picture of the barcode, or you can enter the ISBN manually if you want. So Lloyd's just going to do a little, there you go, wave everyone. So there you go. So it should pick it up for you. If you then click on Find, it searches the Google Books API, brings back the information. As you can see, there's the book as well. And as long as that's all the right details, you can click on the green tick, and it's also added it onto your list there for you as well in real time. So as you can see, we were testing it before. That's why the same book is there in there twice, but ignore that. So some of the books have got a little red dot next to them. That means I've been through a library and I've matched with someone else. So let's have a little look at the library. So in the middle, bottom middle. So these are all the books that are out there at the moment where other users of the app are happy to swap with someone else. So you can swipe left or right, Tinder style if you don't know it. Oh, yeah, we use them all up already, but that's fine. That just tells you that's it. There's no more books at the moment. If you log back in and reload the app, then you'll see a new list of data as well. But in this case, as you can see, we've already matched with someone before, which is what the little red dots are there for. That tells you there's a notification. You click on one of them. So that tells you someone wants your book, but I liked their book. So that's create that sort of match system there. I can now choose if I want to definitely swap with that person or not. And if I do, I just click accept. And then that'll take us back to the bookshelf. And as long as the other person on the other side still wants to have your book, then that relationship occurs. and then the books actually swap. You then get their book, and they get your book. We were just having a few technical difficulties before, so unfortunately I can't really show you that live right now. But one of the key features of the app is, as you can see, the books travel everywhere, depending on where the users are, and your location plays a key part in that. So what you can do is click on one of the books, and on the book profile, which will... Sorry. Let's just refresh that. Yeah. There you go. So what this should do, not that you're in the middle of the sea, but it actually tracks where you've been and your coordinates, and it plots it on a map for you as well. So we did have a working version. Unfortunately, we wiped the database because we wanted to start afresh, and it's just lost all the data. So, but we can show you a live working version later on if anyone wants to have a look. But yeah, that's basically that. I'll now pass you over to Pete. He's going to run through some information about the stack.
Thanks, Sam. Almost. So, like many of you guys, we came into this project on the back of an existing project that we just completed. And once we came up with the idea for Fable, we thought it would be useful with the context that we've got from the past 12 weeks to take some of the key components from that previous project and switch them out for modern day alternatives to not only give us a better understanding of what alternatives are, but perhaps give us some context over what we've already learned that might help frame some of the benefits or disadvantages that they have to offer. So for those of you watching at home or who don't know because you might be pre-back-end or pre-front-end, the top line here sort of represents our previous project, whereby we had React on the front end, we had a Node Express server, and a Postgres database. So I'm not going to delve too deeply into each one of our components because these guys are going to do that on my behalf. However, this little purple triangle with some little circles around it is GraphQL. And one of the key differences between our previous project and our current one was that we decided to depart away from a RESTful API design and instead go with one based on GraphQL. And we arrived at this conclusion from a multitude of kind of different perspectives, but one of the key ones was when we came to do our front-end build for a back-end project that we built 3 weeks prior. A lot of us couldn't remember exactly what operations were available, what data got returned from the API, what requests it accepted, what the endpoints looked like. So a lot of us had to delve back into the back end to sort of extract that information. And you can imagine that as a project grows in complexity, that becomes tedious. You have to start writing documentation to help onboard new developers. And one of the big pluses that GraphQL offers is because it's driven off this very strictly typed schema, it brings everyone, the front-end team, the back-end team, together around one cohesive design. And because of that, it just aids communication in the development process. It provides some nice GUI interfaces to sort of test queries and mutations that you might send from your front-end application to the server to fetch and update information. And it also gives the front-end a far more declarative approach to extracting information out of the API. So, for example, instead of hitting an endpoint for articles, getting back a list of articles with 10 properties on, getting the author off an article, then having to go away to users and get all the information from users, and then merging that into something that's meaningful for the front end, GraphQL lets you just hit one endpoint and be really descriptive on the front end in terms of what data you want to return. So for us, that sort of flexibility, coupled with the fact that it was almost self-documenting, made that it was something that we thought was worthy of exploring. Like I said, I've already done it, but I'm not going to go into the details. I'm going to pass you over to Josh, and he'll explain.
Hi guys, my name's Josh, and I worked on the back end of this project. Following on from Pete with GraphQL, we chose to use Apollo because we needed to handle the queries and mutations coming in from the front end. And with Apollo Server, it works directly with Apollo Client. It allowed also the front end and back end process of integrating them to be streamlined and worked really well. Apollo Server also comes with what Pete said, the playground, so the front end guys were able to test the mutations and queries that they were writing and see what data they got back. So now that we're thinking about the data, we need to think about the database. So whilst we're talking about graphs, we might as well talk about a graph database. So we chose Neo4j database. This database relies heavily on nodes and relationships in the database. Choosing Neo4j, we're allowed to sort of add properties and labels to the database so we could track and monitor the books at all times. And in order to talk to the database, we had to learn Cypher. So people say that Cypher is a bit like SQL. I can tell you that it's absolutely not. Once you get your head around it, you can start writing complex and really tough mutations and queries to the database. And I'm going to pass you over to Lloyd to talk about the front end. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. So on the front end, to start with, we chose React Native. It's a really strong development tool for mobile environments where you can code in JavaScript for both Android and iOS. It's also got quite a similar architecture to React, which we all know from the course. We also used Expo. It's kind of like an add-on to React Native, which comes with loads of great features, such as easily incorporating real native functionality like camera access and geolocation, things like that. It's also incredibly easy to get up and running, but it does come with a lot of problems as well, as we've heard. Yeah, as you saw. But yeah, I think it was worth doing. It's just the problems we encountered were a lot of the documentation out there assumes you're not using Expo, so it's kind of hard to find the relevant things. But yeah, we also used API requests, primarily Google, the Google Maps API, the geocode API from Google, and the Google Books API. We used Firebase to authenticate. We hadn't used it before, but it was relatively straightforward to implement. And going off what the other guys just said, we used GraphQL and Apollo client on the front end to make those queries. I won't go into any more detail on that because I think it was covered already. So I'll pass you over to, is it?
I'll just tell you about how we went about handling the project. So we worked with an agile methodology as we had to be flexible with our approaches because we were using so many new technologies that we hadn't used before. So we had a daily stand-up meeting each morning where we decided what work should be done next and who should do which parts of it. And another challenge we had was with GitHub, because we'd used it many times throughout the course but never done so as a team. So we had a lot of challenges like merging different branches and making sure that we were working with a clean tree. But this then gave us great experience of working as a development team. And now back to Sam.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so you've seen part of a demonstration of an app. Some of the things that we would like to have done a little bit more and just developing a little bit further if we had a bit of time, and get it working, and a video. A rating system. It would be nice if like users could rate the book and then be able to pass that information on. So someone that's wanting to match or potentially swap that book could be able to see, what someone else thought of it, and potentially even things like condition of the book and stuff like that. So that would always be quite good. The other thing is we've already used location-wise in terms of Google Maps and stuff, but what would be nice is for someone to be able to swap a book and just see a list within a certain radius of them. So being able to set it within their profile as to how far away they're willing to go and swap a book. And the other thing would be once a swap has occurred, actually having a way to communicate with the person you've just swapped with. So like a chat system or messaging system, obviously arranging a swap and working out where you're going to meet and things like that. So those were some of the other things that if we were to develop it further, we'd be looking at taking it to the next step, basically. I think that is it. Any questions, guys?